Good morning and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, and our next guest hardly needs an introduction. Phil Sharkey of the Higher Authority. Always great to see you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Good to be here as well. Enjoying my time in our interviews. I look forward to talking with you today and starting the new year off on the right foot.
Absolutely. You always bring us some interesting information. What do you got for us today from the world of the truth or not?
Exactly, Jonathan. So to that point, I think we're going to play a little game here. I thought we might spice it up and have a little fun instead of getting into the mundane heaviness of my field. But I have two congressional people here, and not to pick on politics, but it's so easy when I'm doing background checks or fact checking someone. And we have a little game that we've done with Jeff in the past called Guess the Liar. And I have two people, Jonathan, for you. One is George Santos, the former congressional person representing upstate New York that we know so well. And Lauren Boebert is our other contestant. That's a congressperson from Colorado. So I like to make a statement that they've been involved with and see if you can guess which of the two was the guilty party in this case, if you're ready for
Well,
me.
I know that none of them are true. That's for starters, right? There's no statements that are coming out from either one of them that are factual.
Absolutely. And again, I don't like to come off again when I get it back to my business. It really reflects on people that you meet in the job interview and start to look for employment. You want honesty, you want integrity. No one's perfect, I get that. But as you see with these bombastic situations, you can do better than this. So if you're ready, Jonathan, I'm going to put you on the spot.
You're going to put me on the spot. Sounds good. Let's roll. I got
Right.
50-50 shot here, right?
You do, exactly. So you got that going for you right off the top. So this contestant or this congressperson compared themselves to Rosa Parks and actually stated that Rosa Parks didn't sit in the back, and neither am I when it comes to issues in our country, Jonathan. So which do you think made that?
Oh boy. That's a tough one. I mean, it feels like a trick question here. Um, but it could go either way.
It could.
I'm going to go with Santos because he seems a little more, blatant with where he belongs on the bus.
Yeah, that's right. That was George comparing. That was when the Mitt Romney said he shouldn't be at the congressional hearings, and George got all angry and compared himself to Rosa Parks. Not something I think we should go about doing at all. So a little presumptuous of him. I know he's important in his own mind. So let me move on to another claim for you here. This congressperson claimed to own 13 rental properties and was getting no pay from the people, no rent during the COVID time frame. So they put themselves out there. But which one of our two, Lauren Boebert or George Santos?
I'm going to go based on, I think I know this one off the bat, but I'm going to go with some deductive logic here. And I'm going to say, given that he's in a much more metropolitan area, it's got to be Santos.
It is indeed.
I don't know where
right.
Boebert is, if there are 13 rental units in her district.
No, I don't think she did. Not really her cup of tea. So you're right. So George, no, but the truth, unfortunately, for George, as quite often with him, is he owned no properties at all. And I'm not sure if he's would be called a pathological liar, because I'm not sure the means. He always has a means to his lies. So I'm not sure what the point was with that one, but I'm going to move on here. So get a little more difficult. See if we can't trick you a little bit. This person claimed they missed a key House vote on the debt ceiling vote in Congress. Very important vote for the nation's debt ceiling. They claimed they missed it because they were protesting the vote. Which one of the two contestants there? Could apply to
the
both.
answer. They weren't saying they were at the theater. I heard that one.
No, they weren't at the theater, but I think you're onto something there, my friend.
I'm going to go with Rep. Boebert on that one.
You're right, and unfortunately, the truth that came out was not only was she made up her reason for missing, but the CNN was able to film her running to the congressional hearing, sprinting up the steps, actually yelling out, "Did they start yet?" And CNN telling her, "No, you missed the vote. They already hit the gavel." And then she came up with like, "Well, I wasn't going to do it anyways," because she was protesting because her opinion wasn't being heard. So
I think the truth was probably closer to, she didn't realize there was a time change between her home district and Washington, probably.
Might have thrown her off a little bit. Might have thrown her off with that. So here we got another one here. This congressperson was under investigation by the Federal Election Commission for breaking federal campaign laws. a big issue today.
Ooh, I would suspect that could have been either of them, but since Santos lied about virtually everything, he must have broken some campaign laws, I would imagine.
Yeah, Jonathan, you're right. Actually, that was a trick question because it's both of them. They are both.
I figured as much.
George was obviously that's the reason he's no longer in Congress. He's been removed and is pending criminal charges on that. And surprisingly, not far behind, Lauren Boebert is being looked at by the federal campaign. The FEC filing showed that campaign funds were used to pay her rent and utilities. And again, Jonathan, I'm not perfect, and I know if I do run for politics someday, when you get when you get your campaign funds, you can't use that on your utilities, your rent, your dinner, your Botox, your movie theaters. It has to be just for the campaign. It's really not difficult. It's not a difficult process to understand. All right, let's move on to a sillier one. How about this one? They claim to be a volleyball star in college. A volleyball star.
I seem to recall that one. I think that was Santos too, was it not?
It was, and it's interesting. First of all, he lied all about his history at Baruch College as well, but he's like 5'6", I believe, and I don't think many volleyball people are superstars at that height. But again, a reason to lie. That was mostly before his winning the seat with his stacked resume he had. But yeah, you're right on the money. So you're getting a very good at this game. So I'm going to give you a more involved one.
I'm wondering when I get the keys to the car.
You're getting close. You're gonna got like about two more for you. I don't want to use up all our time, but this happened in November of 2021, and this congressperson called a Representative Ilhan Omar a member of the Jihad Squad and implied she was a terrorist. So which two of our
sounds catty to me. I'm going to go with Rep. Boebert on that one.
Well, you are a tough egg, my friend. You are right on the money there. So she made up this story and that she was getting in an elevator, and the Capitol Police came running, and then she saw Omar in the back of the elevator, and she actually stated that in her words. Well, at least she said she doesn't have a backpack, so I think we're okay. A really strong statement, sensitive and interesting to say is that Representative Omar said it is all made up. She goes, she never even saw me in an elevator, and she said bigotry gets her clout with her people. So she even made up a terrible story, which is very interesting to me. All right, I got time for just a couple more, Jonathan, if you're game. And
I absolutely am, but I want to also talk about what are the implications here, because we I'm sure we see these are so bizarre and so extreme in some cases. You wonder how somebody in the public eye can come up with them. But why don't we continue on, and then we'll get to that to those questions.
I'll give you two more, so we'll see which way you go on these two here. This congressperson has not passed one single bill the entire time they were in Congress or are in Congress. So not even one has been sent to a legislation act at all.
That seems like a trick question. They both could probably qualify for that one as well. But I'm going to go with Santos.
This actually, I got you. This is Jess Lauren Boebert. She has a 6-figure salary, by the way, and her congressional seat is to, again, pose things for bills and put that out there for her legislative, her district, and she's produced nothing so far. So maybe that's coming. I don't know.
My guess is she's not alone.
No, she's not alone in that. Well, this could be a wide field. We could have gone through quite a big group of people. And this one we're gonna maybe wrap up with this one for you. They were accused of that one's too easy. I want a harder one for you. How about this one? They started a nonprofit called Friends of the Pets United, and a GoFundMe page for people with pet problems.
Wow. Nice. Well, since most of what came out of Santos was pretty extreme, I'm going to go with that one as well.
You're right on the money. He raised $3,000 for a veteran who pet needed surgery. Of course, the veteran never got the money and the pet never got the money. He also issued $15,000 in bad checks to breeders for puppies, which all bounced. But
wow, again, what a gem of a character, and some great
It
And,
is.
and now he has on his resume that he actually made it to Congress.
Yeah, he does. And actually could put that on there for once. That would be an actual real claim. But I guess the point of this exercise, John, and as we see now, these are two extreme cases, but like you said, the ramifications of it. So for my clients who are out there and they're going to hire someone, and you're walking in the door. I mean, when you think of your branding and doing something as minimal as a background check, just to find out who they are. On both these people, they had a history where if you had researched them, uh, red flags would have surfaced immensely, and maybe you wouldn't have brought that burden onto you and that embarrassment onto you in the private sector, at least for your company.
So, it's fascinating to me, Phil, because, in these cases, they're pretty extreme, pretty public, obviously very public. The stories came out afterwards, just listening to the not even embellishment, just the straight out lies and how extreme they were. And it's mind boggling to me that somebody can perpetuate that in a public eye and think that they're going to get away with it. Do you see that transferred to the work that you're doing, where people, maybe not quite to this extreme extent, but, how do they think they're going to get away with it?
I do, and I see it again. Sometimes I get the pushback from individuals and rights, and I understand, and nothing's ever infringed upon regarding individuals' rights. But you're going into, especially our clients that work in the public sector and have a big following regarding their platforms, to take that chance on someone who just, there's so many disturbed people, I think, and it's getting worse in our country, and they look like they're perfectly fine. It's not the ones that my clients see, smell of booze and walk in like this is a problem. Everything seems to be perfectly fine until it's not. And you see a history, a pattern in investigations where it's just a concern. And basically it comes down to in background screening that sometimes you have different candidates, and one may just be a lot more safer of a choice than the other, especially when you invest on finding out, what their history is.
Well, the old adage, and I think it probably holds true in this case for you, Phil, is what you see at the tip of the iceberg, there's usually something way below the water, much larger below the water surface.
Yeah, Jonathan, we just had one this week for one of our hotel chains where, they said there was a history that they were, had a bank issue or something. And it turned out to be they actually were involved in a bank robbery as the driver of the vehicle of an armed robbery of a bank. So again, like you said, tip of the iceberg for sure. They mentioned there was something to do with a bank, but not quite in that detail.
I once went through a drive-through.
It was just simply,
it was innocuous as that.
Yeah,
I went through the drive-through, but they didn't tell you it was armed robbery, and you're driving the getaway car. So
just a wrong place at the wrong time. So again, what I suggest to people is there surely is to put down a release form and say, I'm going to do a background check. Heck, half the time, the real troubled people won't even go further. You don't have to spend any money at all. But by putting a policy in place, it's just good business. It's doing your due diligence and showing that you're going to at least check who's coming in your door to try to provide a safe workplace for you.
Great stuff, as always, Phil. Really fascinating, interesting how we take, the everyday sublime and turn it into real life, and how you vet that out. If people want to reach out to you and find out more about the higher authority and how they might engage you to be involved with vetting out some of their candidates, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, right on the internet. Our website is hireauth.com. That's hireauth.com. Toll free, you get 888-230-5901. We work coast to coast in the country. And unlike a lot of our larger competitors, you actually have a person and human contact when you call, and you get right through to a person and not have to wait for feedback and callback. So you can get right through to us.
Fantastic as always. Our guest has been Phil Sharkey, president and owner of the Higher Authority. Always a pleasure to have you on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thanks so much.
And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.